Aurora Energy Metals has officially started the uranium scoping study for its namesake project in southeast Oregon in the United States. To give us all the details is the company's Managing Director, Greg Cochran. Hi, Greg.
Good morning, Karen. Nice to join you this morning.
So, Greg, uranium drill core samples from the Aurora Energy Metals project are now on their way from the US to a lab in Perth. Firstly, just run us through the work completed to get to this point.
There's two components, I guess you could say, to the work completed. There's the work that we've done and my predecessors did since acquiring the project in 2010 from Uranium One. But then there's also work that was done going back 40 years by, one of the world's, at the time, great mining companies, plus Amex. And so we benefit from those two, batches of work that were absolutely fantastic, very detailed by Placer Amex, and then some really good stuff taking advantage of developments in processing in the intervening years. And so what we're doing now is we're looking to have a look at that. We've already reviewed all that work, and we want to take those learnings into the next phase of our scoping study, which is the key part of that is this metallurgical test work. So we drilled that core at the end of last year, so it's good, fresh core. We can't reliably test old core that we also do have when it comes to metallurgical test work. So we're bringing this fresh core over now to begin this phase of the scoping study. So really exciting juncture, because now we're moving beyond that exploration phase that people might think we're in into, hang on, this is serious stuff. This is a project that's got almost, approaching $100 million of historical project expenditure, both in drilling and test work. And we're looking to bring that to the fore now.
So with the ball now rolling with the scoping study, when does the company expect to get stuck into a pre-feasibility study?
Yeah, I guess, baby steps, some people would say, so one step at a time. When we went out recently for a small cap raise to make sure that we are fully funded to complete the scoping study and beyond, we set out a schedule aiming to complete a PFS by the end of next year. And I think we're still on track for that. We are reevaluating the program for the scoping study itself, given that it's taken us a bit longer to get the import permit from our 1,000 kilogram sample to bring it into Australia. That's common practice. It's been done before. It's just that the nuances of the permitting process have changed. Hence, it took us a bit longer. But now that it's on its way, we can sit down with the lab and say, okay, core's due to arrive now. Let's have a look at the impact on the scoping study schedule and how that then informs and influences the commencement and the completion of the pre-feasibility study next year.
Let's talk about the uranium market in North America now. What opportunities does Aurora see in the region?
We're really excited about the whole nuclear supply chain in North America and the US and specifically. So the US is, I guess, unusual if you look at it from an Australian standpoint, in that nuclear has never been more popular and more widely supported. So 77% of the public support nuclear power. They actually get it. And so with that in mind, the world's largest nuclear market, they have 93 odd reactors, generating something like 95 gigawatts of power or power capacity. And, so there you have the world's largest nuclear market, nuclear electricity generator, and therefore the world's largest uranium consumer with negligible domestic production. But this huge commitment to onshoring is a common word, so building its domestic supply chain in all critical minerals and including uranium. And that's where we fit in. And that's what makes me the most excited, is that, gosh, here we have the world, the USA's largest mineable measured and indicated deposit, uranium deposit, and with the potential to provide US sourced uranium for a 10 to 15 year time frame at a scale which is unusual by US standards. The US has often had smaller operations, and when I say smaller, sometimes tiny little uranium mines, and then up to 250, 300, 400,000 pounds per annum. Whereas the deposit with a scale of this nature, we'd be aiming at a production rate well in excess of 1 million pounds. And so that is unusual in the US. And that means, that when it comes to the time, and it's not quite ready now, but when it comes to the point when we engage with utilities, we will be taken seriously.
That brings me to my next question. It is still early days, but at what stage do you think Aurora will engage with potential offtake partners?
Yeah, we just sort of put a few feelers out at the moment just to get a better understanding of the lay of the land. But the trigger for that is when one actually has the bare minimum is a scoping study, so that you can go to utilities and say, look, this is what this potential operation will look like. And, so we can provide US sourced uranium for X amount of years in a volume of Y million pounds per annum. And, this is what it'll cost. And this is the time frame for development. And we can go through those details. But the scoping study is that trigger for that engagement. Of course, there's nothing lost by connecting with people in the utilities at the moment, but it's kind of a bit of a waste of their time and our time, because that's interesting, you've got a big uranium deposit, so whereas, hey, you've got a uranium project and that's what it looks like. Interestingly enough, that scoping study opens another set of doors, we believe, as well, and that's the doors to potentially getting government funding for certain aspects or government loans. People very frequently reference the Inflation Reduction Act, $368 billion US, would you believe? And that's not the only commitment by, and support by bipartisan support for major sums of money to help guide and assist the US to achieve its clean energy objectives. And so we're excited about that aspect as well, about, so there's two uses of this very important scoping study.
Greg, the Aurora Energy Metals project is an advanced uranium project, but the company has also found mineralization of another important metal there. Is that correct?
Yeah, look, geology, I'm not a geologist, I'm a mining engineer by background, but geology has always fascinated me. And this is a particular case in point, that we're located in a geological feature called the McDermott caldera, which, funny enough, 42 million years ago was the Yellowstone hotspot. So, the Yellowstone National Park, and that migrated across the US over millions and millions of years. So that's interesting fact. But what this historical event transpired is that, the volcanic activity mobilized the uranium and other minerals such as lithium and in fact mercury. So this particular reason historically was a mercury mining place, or for 90 years, in fact. But people knew the uranium was there, they knew the lithium was there, but they never quite tested it that much because lithium wasn't much of a market. But now, with today's focus on EVs and the transition, people have realized that the McDermott caldera is a significant potential source of lithium, of what they call clay-hosted lithium. And so what we've seen is our next door neighbors, Lithium Americas with Thacker Pass, which is about 35 kilometers to the south of us, and then our next door neighbors to the west, fellow Aussie Jindalee. Those are the two largest clay-hosted lithium deposits in North America. And, so we tested some of the drilling that we've done, the overlying intersections, so the shallow stuff, almost all of them returned lithium. And when we did our drill program in November last year, we demonstrated that it stretches out further beyond the uranium deposit. So yes, we know we have the lithium. Do we have the capacity to explore it? No. we're so focused on the uranium, given it's such an advanced resource, whereas we acknowledge that the lithium is early stage. And so strategically, what we've said is, we would welcome the involvement of a major a joint venture partner to earn in on the lithium so that we can prove that deposit or that asset up, and providing us with exciting news flow whilst delivering on the uranium project work as well.
Greg Cochran, Managing Director of Aurora Energy Metals, thanks so much for your time today.
And thank you very much for the opportunity, Caroline. Enjoyed talking to you.